And we are live. Hey, family.
What it is, what it is, what it do. What's up, John?
You're so funny.
What's
I,
up, man?
you're so funny. I was about to say something else, but I was like, let me
Do
not
it.
start it. No, I'm not doing it.
Do it. Oh, there we go. I see us.
You got you live on Instagram. Hey, y'all.
Yeah, it don't show me mine. It always show you yours.
Oh, but you hit live on Instagram?
Hmm? Oh,
Oh,
no.
you know what? Y'all pray for the jam. Cause see, happy
Listen,
Thursday.
I'll be working. Like,
You do be working,
if one
Jam.
of my board members jump on, they'd be like, oh, are you off today? I'll be like, no, I'm just here for the next 50
I
minutes.
see. I got the notification that you were live on my Instagram.
Okay, there we go. Okay, that's
Uh-huh.
good.
He's like, he live now. Okay, then what you over there
He laughed.
doing? He
He
live.
laughed.
You be making my accent sound worse than what it
No,
is.
it's not. That's exactly what it is. It's pretty accurate. Hello.
Ooh, y'all, happy Thursday. I hope
Happy
you've been having an
Thursday.
amazing day.
Yep.
We're talking about your triggers are ruining your relationship, part two. So, y'all come on in the room. Please make sure to share the live. Tag one of your friends, somebody that you know who need to hear it. Just send them a message like the Lord was trying to bless you, Janice. Was trying to bless you today.
Trying to
So
bless
yeah, so
you.
y'all come on in. Let us know if y'all been listening to the episode, like what's been good. And yeah, we'll get right into the conversation.
You're right into it. This is the second week of us talking about triggers. And it's man, I feel like this could be like a month-long episode. It's so good. There's so many nuances to it.
Mm-hmm.
What's some of the feedback that you've got, Lauren, from people listening to the episode?
Um, Let me see what we say. I saw somebody comment on our podcast. And thank y'all for dropping comments too on the podcast. Y'all be letting us know what y'all thinking and things.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I
Mm-hmm.
saw something on here. Hold on. I had a couple people hit me up in DMs and be like, "This episode was really, really good." They felt very seen, very seen in episode.
And that light.
Um, uh, and I actually had one of my friends tell me that one of the things that I shared on was it in our what was it in? It was in I think maybe the content this week around triggers and about being defensive. Um, and I think I shared something about sometimes the person is not hearing you, they're hearing the inner critic, they're hearing a parent, they're hearing someone else from their childhood, but they're not hearing you. And so they use that language with their partner, and they were able to really just start having some really honest conversation
Mm-hmm.
about what they were really hearing and what they were really dealing with, because sometimes the person that you're in front of that you think you're arguing having this disagreement or argument with is oftentimes not really the person at all when you start digging deeper. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, oh, let me find out that the gems is blessing the people of God.
That James is blessing the people again. Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. Man, my Pastor Greg and man just had some really great feedback as far as, things that were being unveiled that is, not only just talking about in a form of relationship, but I think it's very like apropos that like in this time in our nation where there's a
Mhm.
lot of triggers and being able to navigate that with not just relational, but just our neighbors or just people that we're in disagreement with. And how do we manage what does it look like when someone's opinion stings us or someone's belief system stings us or someone's policy stings us? So even outside of relationship, it's been really cool to see how this episode seems to be very timely for just as a society as a whole,
Mhm.
and how do we navigate the things that are really triggering us, and how do we see one another despite the trigger that could blind us from walking in love. So it's really beautiful. It's been a
Mm.
powerful episode, Lauren.
Yeah, it really it definitely really has. And just the things that have come up from it for people,
Yeah.
especially those of us who struggle with like our emotions, who be like exploding, shutting
Hmm.
down,
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
just withdrawing altogether. um but people do that sometimes.
Hmm.
They do that sometimes to be able to self-protect, if you
Hmm.
will. And sometimes they think they're protecting their partner or somebody else, but sometimes it's also a way to almost like deflect,
Hmm.
and not always share what they're thinking.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's as I've posted in clips from the episode. I just want to reshare the complexity and the depth of a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
From a human relationship standpoint, our origin is from birth to now, but from a spiritual standpoint, it's from the garden.
Mm.
And so there's two dimensions of triggers, and the one from the garden is the root of them all. And so true reconciliation is really when you allow yourself to be led by the Spirit to reveal that everyone was stung by the biggest trigger when death entered Adam, and it entered all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And when sin and death entered every human being through Adam, we all were born into the world triggered.
Yeah.
And death being the thing that stings us, until we allow God to be the only person who can remove that stinger to show us that we're no longer harmed by death and sin anymore. And when I say sin, I'm not talking about the behaviors. I'm talking about us believing that the only way that we can be unstung is in our own defense of self or our own life. And so there's so many nuances of this. And so as much as we can navigate what happened to us, what did our parents do to us, what did someone in our childhood do to us, it creates some level of resolve in relationship. But the full justice of really overcoming a trigger is to really to have death conquered in you. And that takes you being able to see what happened to you from God's eyes and not just from your eyes. And I said something also in a previous clip from the episode about when we allow God to tell us his story of the trigger. And where does this start for him? Where did he first see it happen? Who was all involved?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened to the other people that also was triggered when they triggered us? And we start to see this interweaving of how we're all in the same boat in a trigger, and we realize no one's our enemy.
Yeah.
And when we can be able to navigate and see that from that fold, then we can be the peacemaker that the scriptures talk about. Then we can walk in the ministry of reconciliation. And then we can boast in our weakness and not hide in our weakness or try to guard our weakness or think that something's wrong with us when weakness shows up. And so there's so many beautiful things that are born in us when we not only just investigate the relational trigger from our earthly experience, but we also start to investigate the spiritual trigger that happened in the beginning. And so when we are able to navigate both of those at the same time, Lauren, what a strength we can have, what a grace we can have, what an openness we can have, what a seeing each other and not being blinded by the trigger we can have when we navigate life. Because the one thing that is going to happen that you can guarantee is that you are going to always be triggered and be dealing with triggered people. And how do I navigate that? It's inevitable.
Yeah.
And so I think that those two planes and dimensions and realms of triggering have to both be discussed and have to both be understood and we have to be equipped to know how to navigate between the two, because if you just have one without the other, that there's always going to be residue. that you'll always have to be trying to figure out how to get rid of, and you really won't know what the source of the residue is.
No, that's good. You said something, it hit me as you were talking. You said something on the episode that I was like, "Ooh, this is so many people's testimony that oftentimes we are in relationships that we are having to parent our partner,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
makes it hard to
Yeah.
be partnership.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting with that thing, and
Mhm.
and just really thinking about what does that look like, for us to sometimes have to be in situations where unfortunately sometimes you be having to parent the people. You be like,
Yeah. I
how we
mean,
got here.
I'm telling you, man, the enemy really hates family
Correct.
because he first hated the first family, which is the Trinity. So
Hmm.
so the enemy has always hated family.
Yeah.
From God's uh family, the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, and the family of human beings, and the family between God and man being family. So if he can divide one from the other, then like that gives him joy. And so when we have a environment and an ecosystem where we are birthing children into relationships by
Hmm.
people who don't understand what they're up against,
Hmm.
the children get wounded and they grow up normalizing woundedness. And the thing that they start to defend is the wound because that they think that that's normal. And so when they get into relationship, which sheds light
Hmm.
on every hidden thing
Correct.
of what's in us as a human being, now when someone shows up unwounded and they start to love the person that's wounded, then there's a response and there's a trigger because this person has been defending something they thought was true because it was normal, only to realize when love comes in a pure way, it starts to expose that it was impure and it was perverse. And you should have never been able to know that growing up.
Hmm.
And now we're dealing with that. And so now a person can choose one or two things. I'm going to parent this person through it, which is only going to lead to more triggering, more resentment, more disconnection,
Yeah.
and more abandonment because now this person is going to see you as the parent that they should have deserved, and they're going to project everything that everyone else failed on you. So you just inherited what everybody else failed in, and you don't want to carry
Mm.
that weight. God is the only person that can do that. And then or you can become the partner. And the partner says, I'm not here to fix you.
Yeah.
I'm not here to heal you. I'm not here to resolve it. I'm here to partner with you to get to the person who can fix it, and that is God. And
Hmm.
when we stay in that position, we remove ourselves off of the throne for someone idolizing us to heal something that we don't have the power to. And that isn't a trigger in itself. Because when we love people, what do we want to do? We just want to fix it,
Yeah.
right? And this parent of generation, right? What's the thing that's creating this entitlement
Mhm.
syndrome in all of our
Mhm.
kids where they're growing
Mhm.
up too fast and they have more access to things? Like, what are we saying to our kids? Man, I would have had to wait till I was 22 until I got a phone. Did you know I'd have had my own room until I was actually in college? Did you know I didn't even actually be able to have a TV? Like we're comparing and
Wow.
contrasting because we made a decision based on a trigger that our kids should have more than we ever had.
Mm.
And then now we started to birth a generation from a trigger of it feeling like we were wounded because we were comparing what we had to the rest of the world. And if someone that was around us looked like they had more than us, then we thought it was woundedness.
Yeah.
So now we're raising our kids in an assumed or an illusioned woundedness. And now they're wounded because they're so attached to too much that they're not satisfied. And this is why they're anxious. And this is why we have to keep things in front of them to keep them entertained because we've given them too much too soon without being
Mhm.
able to know how to manage and value the little that they've been given. And so we're in this perpetuated state where we end up having to choose between partnering people with people or parenting people based on our ability or inability to know what the person needs. And if I become the need of a person, I've already doomed myself in the person because I actually can't fill a need. I do not have the ability to say, if you eat or drink for me, you shall hunger no more.
Yeah.
If I can't say that to a person, then I don't have the ability to meet a need. I'm gonna say that one more time because we get
Come on, because you see, I'm over here noting.
the one of the biggest struggles in
Hmm.
current modern day relationship, the biggest trigger that people don't know how to navigate is getting someone to meet your needs.
Yeah.
And if someone does not have the power for you to eat or drink from them to meet a need, and you no longer have the need to need,
Hmm.
then they don't have the power to meet a need. I'll show you an
Mm.
example. Jesus said, "For I am the bread of life.
Yeah.
Anyone who eats from me," what happens, Lauren? "You shall hunger no more." That
Hmm.
means I've met the need of hunger.
Correct.
I am the living water. What happens when you drink from him? You shall do what? You shall
Thirst no more.
thirst no more. What does that mean? I have an ability to no longer for you to meet the need where you've reached satisfaction. So one of the biggest triggers that we think can be resolved by you doing something for me, you performing something, is us actually projecting someone to be God to us, and they don't have the ability to.
Yeah.
And we take upon that weight saying we'll love someone, and then we're like have this worldly idea of like laying down our life, and it's not in a godly fashion. We're like, I'll take on the weight of meeting the need, and that ain't laying yourself down like Christ loved the church. That's laying yourself down as though you're God,
Yeah.
and you don't have the ability to carry the weight of somebody and then get up from the grave in your own ability, and then wonder why there's so much adultery in relationships, why
Hmm.
there's so much disconnection in relationships, why there's so much turmoil in relationships, why people get divorced so easily, is because as soon as that trigger comes, you can't meet my need. This must not be the place to go, only to realize you'll be scavenging the earth looking for a human being, only to realize no one can satisfy
No, that's
it.
one of the things that I wrote down as you were talking earlier was
Mhm.
that oftentimes we find ourselves trying to heal ourselves through our children.
Mhm. Very true. Very
And
true.
what is so interesting, I was having this conversation with a girlfriend last night, and we were just talking about relationships and dating and things of that nature. And I brought up, we're talking about like love languages and, what that feels like for us, right? And I brought up Waiting to Exhale.
Mm.
Remember the movie Waiting to Exhale? But Bernadine said on Waiting to Exhale, I thought if I gave you what you wanted, you would give me what I needed, right?
Mm.
And so you think about that being a very pivotal part of the movie because he was telling her that like he wanted a divorce.
Mhm.
And I was sharing with my friend, I said, and that is manipulation
Yeah.
because you're not loving the person as in their language or in a way that it feels loving to them. You're trying
Mhm.
to model a
Mhm.
behavior so that they
Mhm.
will in turn serve you. Now, if you're going to love people like Christ loved the church, and if you're going to love the way
Mhm.
he loves, we go to First Corinthians 13. He talks about how when you love people, you should love them without the expectation of getting something in return. Because
Mhm.
at that point, now you're again self-seeking, and he came to serve. And so
Mhm.
oftentimes we're in these relationships and we're looking for people to serve us and not
Mhm.
how are we coming to serve. And so
Sir.
if we're
Yeah.
both coming to serve, both of us are going to get poured on. Both of
Mm.
us are going to have a plate because we're both coming to serve. But when
Mhm.
you're coming into a relationship and you're only looking at you're solving from it solving from it from a place of lack, then you're
Mhm.
always going to look for one thing that serves you, and then you say the relationship is great.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Mhm.
that's not, you're not really in relationship at that point. You're in leech.
Mm.
you're,
Yeah, you're in
you're in
codependency.
codependency. And
Yeah.
so, how many of us have felt like if I gave you what you wanted, you would give me what I needed because we thought that the old saying of do unto others as you would have them do unto you, that meant that this is a way to get somebody to do what I want them to do when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
me. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not true. And the
Mm-hmm.
last thing that I made a point to her about yesterday that I thought was also really interesting was that oftentimes when you're in relationship with a person, God will give you a partner who their love language, if we just want to talk of love languages, are oftentimes the thing that is
Mm-hmm.
probably not really your biggest strength because that's where you're going to
Mm-hmm.
grow. You can't
Mm-hmm.
grow from the strength. If you're looking at a SWOT analysis and you're already at strength, then where's the growth from? Is this just extra strength, like
Mm-hmm.
Tylenol? You know what I'm saying? Like it's no growth. But when you are at opportunity and from opportunity, there is growth. From
Mm-hmm.
weakness, there is growth. But there's not growth
Mm-hmm.
at strength. And so oftentimes we'll be like, well, why this person, I, my love language is acts of service and I'm serving them, but that's not theirs, or that's not the way
Mm-hmm.
you love, or
Mm-hmm.
theirs may be mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
One of those
Mm-hmm.
undocumented,
Mm-hmm.
outside of what's his name, Gary Chapman, I think, who wrote
Mm-hmm.
5 love languages, but mindfulness is not one of them, but that may be theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes what we'll feel like in relationship when we're talking about these triggers is that the other person is so consumed and concerned with what am I getting
Mm-hmm.
versus what am I serving.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay. I see where you're going. I like that. That's a great doorway to walk into. I would then ask you the question, if two people are showing up serving, well, human beings can't self-exist in themselves. So somebody has to be serving them to ensure that they're
Mm-hmm.
always at full capacity to serve someone else. So
Yeah.
who's serving the human being to ensure that they're pouring into the relationship?
God.
Okay. So let's tap okay, so let's tap into
Well, I'm
that.
a hope. Let me for those of us who have been persuaded that God does provide.
Yeah, right. Okay. So
And y'all
let's
drop y'all comments as well. Please feel free to join the conversation because I see people like checking in with us.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I love what Lauren said is that when we choose someone, we are pouring ourselves out on them. And we're not pouring ourselves out on them to satisfy them.
Mm-hmm.
We're pouring themselves out on them so they can see where satisfaction comes from,
Correct.
right? And so if I'm already served by God, then I'm already in a state of abundance. But most people are serving God and not
Mm-hmm.
letting God serve them, which means that if you come into a relationship of servanthood to someone else and you don't reap a benefit from it or reap a
Mm-hmm.
blessing from it or reap some type of resolve from it,
Yeah.
then you will walk in resentment because it's not the natural design of how God formed relationships when he serves you.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the reasons, another trigger that most people don't talk about when they're forming relationships or even when they're in relationship with God is people really have a hard time with receiving. And the only way that
Yes.
you can truly get the love that you desire is
Yeah.
to receive it. And most people are trying to barter instead of
Yeah.
receive. Most people are trying to negotiate. Most people are trying to compromise. Most people are trying to wage and transactionalize something that they were made to receive freely. So if you struggle with receiving from God who wants nothing from you and
Come
wants to
on.
give you all of himself, then how will you ever be good at receiving from another person? Those two usually don't go together. And if you struggle with receiving from God and want to receive only from another person, then that tells you who your idol is.
Yeah.
So we have triggers. And when I was talking,
Mm-hmm.
we touched on this, and Crystal said this. She loved how we
Mm-hmm.
talked about that there's positive triggers.
Yeah.
Right? So when we think of trigger, we just think of like somebody red flagging us, right? Because we're so obsessed with pain and we're so afraid of being hurt. So
Correct.
that's so nobody can enter as soon as a human being is a human being, right?
Correct.
We
Correct.
think that we're supposed to be removed from the human experience because we
Mm-hmm.
by ourselves don't trigger ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we think that, oh, well, when we come into relationship with people, then I shouldn't be triggered because when I'm by myself, I'm not triggered. Of course you are, because you can't see you fully,
Correct.
right? You don't access all the parts of you that only another person coming in can access because there's different parts of them that touches parts of you that your familiarity with yourself doesn't touch.
Yeah.
So then we're like, oh, well, this can't be love. This can't be a person I should invite into my life because they've done something to me, or they've said something to me, or they've acted in a way that's not like how I act to myself. And then we
Mm-hmm.
judge that as a negative trigger. Well,
Yeah.
I would say a positive trigger is when someone is anxious to get something from you and something in you doesn't say, you're clinging to me in a way that doesn't feel right according to the design of how we're supposed to connect.
Mm,
We
that's
we
good.
don't we don't express, oh, I feel like you're taking from me
Yeah.
instead of receiving something from me. We don't have those awareness of those triggers. And if we do, we don't know how to have language. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to have triggers that says, God, I am depending on people more in this season than I'm depending on you. That's a really healthy trigger to have. This is another good trigger to have. God, I realize that when I am in relationship with you, the only time I get close is when you give me something I want more than enjoying the thing that I have as you. And the
Mm,
value in the relationship only gets climactic when I see my life on an earthly scale increase. That's when I realize you and I are extremely close. When you are under the submission of what I desire and you
yeah.
give it to me, then that's when I know you and I are doing well. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that should be a trigger that in that relationship, you are a person that's actually trying to use God instead of actually being with Him.
Yeah.
And most people can't even understand that concept because God has this unlimited heart where He wants to provide for us, but you can still use God and not love this person.
Mm-hmm.
If we can do it to people, we can do it to God. God just responds differently.
Correct.
God's not offended when He knows you're trying to use Him, right?
Because he
Because He's
knew.
not lacking anything,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. He's not, and he knew.
And He knew. He knows what He signed up for. He knows when He purchased you. He know what
Yeah.
He bought, right?
Yeah.
But these are good triggers to have, that when we're in our prayer time or in self-reflection, how can I develop positive triggers? How can I develop triggers where I don't allow myself to lie to myself anymore?
Yeah.
I know I'm being dishonest to me. I know when I show up in other spaces, my heart isn't in it. And instead of projecting on the people, I'm just going to go ahead and say the truth myself. Hey, I realize my heart's not in this. Those are
Mm,
really great triggers to have. So when we're managing this thing called triggers, I said
mhm,
it's a very complex and beautiful nuance. Jesus had, God in the flesh had a trigger. Whenever his closest crew was trying to project their lack onto them, Jesus rebuked them.
mhm.
We see that with Peter. He was withholding Jesus from the cross, and we know what the cross was God's desire to give to us and to himself.
Yeah.
And Peter thought he was being loving, but he was actually responding from a place of fear and lack. And the
Yeah.
Father knows he didn't give that to him, nor has he ever seen God in the flesh as Jesus walk in fear or lack.
Yeah.
So he's like, I know who this is influencing you. And he called it out to bring Peter back into the place of right relationship. If we're
Mhm.
going to walk together, I can't have you projecting your fears on me.
No.
Because if the fear is there, then you won't reject what the cross was made for you to receive. And this is why having positive triggers are so helpful to
Yeah.
us with God, us to ourselves, and us with one another, because the positive trigger can cast out a negative trigger that causes fear to enter, and love can respond and say, I'm going to remove this so that we can continue to walk in alignment with one another. Not
Yeah.
cast each other out,
Yeah.
cast the fear that comes from the negative trigger out. And
Yeah.
we don't know the difference because when we think we're triggered, we cast the person out. And that's how you know we don't have an intelligence. We know we don't have an understanding of how to correctly navigate triggers.
I want to go back to something that you touched on receiving.
Mhm.
A lot of us Type A high achiever people. They struggle with receiving because oftentimes receiving was tied to a trauma. So
Mm.
it's like, um, when we go back to the time we were vulnerable enough to ask someone for help, and
Mhm.
then that was used as a weapon against us.
Mhm.
At that point, it made it hard to be like to be open to receiving, because it makes you be like, I don't ever want to go through that again.
Right.
I don't ever want to feel demeaned by like that again. And
Mm.
although that interaction was with one person, you then put that same energy on whoever's trying to give to you.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
oftentimes what ends up happening is we isolate ourselves from people who want to support us, who do not see us the way, our parent may have saw us, our partner,
Mhm.
or whoever it was
Right.
has seen us. But because we're still tied to that hurt, it's almost like we have allowed it to define us. And so then what
Mhm.
starts to happen is that it creates a pattern. And
Mhm.
so what you end up doing is finding yourself just always being a person to do it, always been a person
Mhm.
to take care of, never
Mhm.
really asking for help. And so it just becomes a cycle that is that, quite honestly, unless you really get to paying attention to it, you don't realize it until
Mhm.
somebody says, like, you really struggle with receiving. Or
Mhm.
like, I noticed that when I say, "Hey, I'm gonna pay for something," you're like, like, I got some money,
Mhm.
I gotta eat. And it's like, no one
Mhm.
said you didn't have money. Like,
Mhm.
no one said this to you. Why are you responding that way?
Mhm.
But it does come from
Mhm.
a time when the
Mhm.
person that you thought you could trust to ask
Mhm.
use that against you in a way that you're like, I don't desire.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I'm praying for those who've been struggling with receiving, because
Mhm.
that is a real thing. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a very real thing, especially when it's been manipulated
Mhm.
against you.
Yeah. Man, it's it's how we get robbed of our childlikeness.
Yeah. Because when you're a kid, you don't mind asking. You be asking for stuff your mama said before you got out the car to go to Walmart. Don't ask for nothing.
It's the heart of wondering. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's and like we rob our children, and it's the enemy's intention that they be robbed, so that way when they become an adult and they experience God, they no longer have a heart for receiving him.
Mm.
They have a heart for serving him. So what we do with our kids, yes, we've done all these things for them, but our resentment towards them is because they're pulling on a capacity in us that we're not used to having pulled on, or they're touching things in us that haven't been matured or developed. And
Mm-hmm.
so even though we're parent, we have this job, we have this home, they're in gymnastics, they're in basketball, they're in cheer, they're in all these things,
Yeah.
we think that that dynamic of a life is what like the end all be all of what being a good parent is. And it's some aspect of it. But how we are able to be childlike with our children is what protects and holds their childlikeness as they come into an adult. The reason why most people can't process trauma correctly as an adult, and it's hurt children and wounded children in
Mm-hmm.
adult bodies, is because their childlikeness wasn't transitioned into their adulthood. It
Yeah.
was the woundedness of their childhood, not the wonder of their childhood. Let's preach today. And so when we protect the wonder of our
Yeah.
children, when we let our children be children, and then we let them grow from adolescence into every proper stage of making them into adults, they get to hold on to that wonder. So
Yeah.
that way, when they experience God, it is normal to wonder. It is normal to receive. It is
Yeah.
normal to ask from a wondrous place instead of an earthly place. And so
Mm-hmm.
what happens is when we have become adults where we labor, we're high achievers, it's because wonder was stolen from us.
Yeah.
And we had to take on the role of an adult in a household with adults that were operating in immaturity and lack. And so as kids, we had to raise our parents. And kids, we had to raise our siblings in a
Yeah.
way that wasn't conducive to protecting our wonder and our childlikeness. And so that trigger gets formed
Mm-hmm.
whenever we come into relationships, we choose what's familiar. And what's familiar
Come
is if
on.
I
Now
took
you
care
in
of
it.
everybody when I was
Yeah.
young and I became a parent at 9, like my mom was, then it's easy that you choose men that you have to parent, or you choose women that you have to parent.
Mm.
And so most men, little boys, are given a lot of responsibility at a young age to prove their masculinity too soon. And they don't learn how to be human. Well, guess what
Yeah.
happens, ladies? The reason why you say there's pee in the dating pool is because you got little boys who are
Yeah.
emasculated by too heavy of responsibilities to become men too early when they should have been boys longer. So now the only thing they know how to do is to complete a task or to fulfill an instruction, but they don't know how to be human. And guess what relationship is formed? It's got nothing to do with the task. It's got nothing
Mhm.
to do with an instruction. It has everything about the human experience. That's how God made it. So if I don't know how to be human in a human construct, guess what I'm going to be struggling with you? How to be human.
Yeah.
And then we punish people for
Hmm.
something that was lacking at a time that they didn't have control over.
You know, I remember you all in my business. I remember it's been a couple years ago now when I had the revelation that um so I was grown very early. I was the person that raised parentals.
Mm-hmm.
I was the person who raised my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I didn't really have childhood. There wasn't a lot
Mm-hmm.
of years of wonder. And so I can recall I was uh, like, this has been obviously post my divorce, but I was so frustrated one day with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then God had to come to me and say, you know, you're jealous of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to sit with that. And the truth was I was, because again, we want them to have the life we didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also found myself being jealous of the life that they were living. And I'm like, you know how good you
Mm.
got it. You don't know how
Yeah.
it. And then I
Yeah.
had to realize, oh, wait. They ain't been talking that long. They ain't been walking
Mm-hmm.
that long. So these
Mm-hmm.
things that you will expect them to do, have this house clean, all these things at the age and when this was going on, was like,
Mm-hmm.
you're asking too much too soon.
Mm-hmm.
And you low key jealous.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to sit with that and really work through that. And some of you who watch this live later on or whenever you catch it, this may be your testimony that
Mm-hmm.
you wanted them to have this great life. But then what happens when you're secretly jealous because of the fact that you didn't have it? I didn't have that time to like, do all the things. I didn't from this wonder. I was grown very early. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to be responsible for my brother, responsible like always. I had to always make my own way, how I was gonna do
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I didn't have time to be sitting there and trying to
Mm-hmm.
get with you and let's come up with a plan. I wasn't accustomed to that.
Mm-hmm.
I was accustomed to being a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a problem, give you an answer. Don't
Mm-hmm.
call me to vent because I don't want to hear it. Because
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, what's the solution?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's get to that. Um, and so now as an adult, I've had to really work at just being able to just be like, you know what, that's really not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
That really don't have to get done today.
Mm-hmm.
Let me not assign you that priority. And the things
Mm-hmm.
that I do allow them to do and things of that nature, there's explanation, there's conversation around it. Like there's way more talk than there is yell.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important a lot of times for us to really be able to sit with that. And I can recall that being a big time trigger for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I was like, you really living a life like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you really got it made if you
Man, listen, I
like,
listen, that's so huge, and that makes me want to share. Man, this just gave me light because now that I'm older,
mhm,
and my oldest brother never really took on the role as older brother. Um, and I helped raise my little brother for a certain part of his childhood. But when I look back, even though I wasn't extremely close with my immediate family,
mhm,
and I always felt different than my peers,
mhm,
God always put people around me in friendships that were fill ins as families that I could know what it was like to be a family in. and it protected my wonder, and it protected my childlikeness. And so when I got older and I looked at and see how my siblings struggled, because when
Mhm.
I look at their life, like they had families and stuff like that they were a part of, but
Yeah.
I don't know if they necessarily had families that was pouring into them to fill in the spaces that my family was lacking in. And so
Yeah.
my whole life, I've always been extremely attached to family dynamics, whether it's friendship, whether
Mhm.
it's communities, like the way that I set up all of my friends and communities, like we have to be family. It's the
Yeah.
only form of friendship I know is like
Yeah.
adoption. And so, like, because God had brought that into my life, I didn't understand now until you shared that, Lauren,
Mm.
of why, like, there's this guilt in me when I saw my siblings struggling now that I'm an older adult and I'm like building a different relationship with them. And
Yeah.
I'm like, why wasn't I there to help them?
Yeah.
And God was like, well, Jer, how can you be guilty of something for you having the healthy form of a life? And I'm thinking that as a child, I should have been more aware to carry that for them so
Yeah.
that when I became an adult, I could walk them through what they needed, and only to realize that that guilt and condemnation didn't come from God, because God was like, "Well, I was teaching you what a healthy life looked like. So how were you learning about a healthy life and you were still learning what it looked like to live in a healthy life where it was okay for people to pour into you. It was
Yeah.
okay for you to ask for help. It was okay that you didn't know anything about money, and I can bring people into your life to father you in that area
Mhm.
without bringing forth shame or to
Yeah.
make you feel like you were lacking as a man because you may needed to go back home and hit the reset button and reform a new vision. Like
Yeah.
all those things that I knew that my family wouldn't be able to articulate, God was giving me those people to show me at an adult age that it was okay to have wonder. And so,
Mm.
like, what a blessing it's been for you and I both to walk out with God, that now that we've gotten to these adult stages, we
Yeah.
can now look back at, like, oh, that's why I chose those things.
Yeah.
That's what formed me into those things. That actually wasn't normal. That's
No.
why I chose to marry that person. Yeah,
Mhm.
they may have done things to me, or I may have done things to them, but
Correct.
I landed here because it looked like where I came from. And now
Correct.
that I understand and I have clarity, now I have a wondrous eye to choose, not from the familiar of woundedness, but from the
No.
familiar of love.
Yes.
And Lauren, when that trigger gets formed in us, so I want to give everybody who's listening, God, I pray that you would form a discernment that
Mm.
I am more familiar with what real love is that comes from you, that I see produced and poured out through human beings, that I am of the woundedness that I've known with human beings.
Mm.
And when we allow God to create that trigger in us, that discernment that we know what love is,
Yeah.
it's so much easier to be able to hear words and language of woundedness from a person. And instead of excommunicating them and casting them out, we can walk with them and say, hey, you may not be a person I'm supposed to date, but you are a person that I want to pour into.
Yeah.
What would happen if the dating scene, if we encouraged people who showed up hurting instead of defaming them, instead of bridging wars against them,
Mhm.
instead of attacking them, and instead of
Mm.
humiliating them, because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And Lauren, it's happening in our community more than any other community. And you want to talk about a people who's already been through so much historically. Why
Correct.
would we add more trauma to the trauma we're still trying to heal from? And we're the ones that's the oppressor towards one another.
We are.
And say we love our culture. And clearly we, how can you say you love God but
Yeah.
hate your own people,
Yeah.
right? So this is something for even our people group to be ministered to, because it's something that we have really struggled with in this current generation,
Mhm.
where we're sitting down, we're reflecting, we're going through therapy, we're trying to get to this like soft life idea, but as soon as somebody starts to try to deflate whatever you think softness is, then we like cast everyone out.
Yeah.
And I would say that that's a unhealthy form of a trigger, because to live in softness is to see the hardness in everybody else and to want to gift them the softness that you have.
Yeah.
That's what softness is. Softness is self-protected in itself. You can't take softness from me. I already know what
No.
it's like to have been hard. Now I have a heart of flesh. My heart is soft. I don't have
Yeah.
a heart of stone
Same.
anymore.
Same.
I'm like, "Ooh, you're hurting."
Yeah.
So because I've been gifted this beautiful heart of flesh, can I touch some of those triggers of that hardness to show you what it looks like to come into a place of softness, and to show you that you can have the softness that you're longing for without having to demand or control or to manipulate or to deceive or to harm somebody to get it, or to control them. But
Yeah.
most people, when they see danger, they pick up their weapons instead of laying it down.
Mm. They pick up their weapons instead of laying it down. It's instinct to do, right? And so because of that, it's just like it's just a reaction.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we forget our dominion.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're picking up something that makes us feel like we're in control. All
Yeah.
right, we go back to that. We don't trust God because we can't control the conversation.
That's good. So good. I love every reminder of that. It hits heavier and heavier when you bring it up. I love it. It's so
and
good.
and so now we're trying to war against, but it's something that I shared with you. And I don't know if it was on the live or I mean when we recorded or before, but oftentimes we are so prepared again to go to war.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's almost like that's what the home life was preparing us for all the time. You don't
Mm-hmm.
start a fight, but you better finish it. Like like all
Right.
of those
Right.
those things. And so, but where is if you see someone is hungry, you give them bread to eat. You see what I'm saying? Like we don't prepare people for
Mm-hmm.
giving. We
Mm-hmm.
prepare people for taking. And even as children can barely say their name, but I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
your daughter and my two sons started out mine, mine, mine. Now you ain't got no
Mm-hmm.
full sentence for mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can yell
Mm-hmm.
mine, right? So we are always trying to own something or be in
Mm-hmm.
power of something or be in control of something. And so we're not prepared to love something. And so
Mm-hmm.
when it comes, now we feel all gooey inside, and now it's like it's
Mm-hmm.
so uncomfortable, and we have this moment where we feel like we should be covering up, but God's like, no, I want
Mm-hmm.
to take you back to when Adam and Eve knew no shame.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're okay. You can put it down. I got it. You don't have to go to war
Mm-hmm.
with them
Mm-hmm.
because that's not even who we even in war with.
Mm-mm.
So it goes back to what we've been doing in off season. In off
Mm-hmm.
season, we've been preparing for you to play it. Don't play in my face.
Mm-hmm.
If I
Mm-hmm.
catch you doing this, we got a whole standard of
Mm-hmm.
operation procedure of what we would
Mm-hmm.
do in
Mm-hmm.
the event that you
Mm-hmm.
even think about playing
Yeah.
with me. And
Yeah.
we don't mind articulating it. We know it like an Easter speech. But
Mm.
to know what happens when someone comes in and they come and
Yeah.
they want to love you, or they're asking questions just to
Yeah.
understand you, not to weaponize against you, not to
Yeah.
manipulate you. We struggle with it. When you
Yeah.
look at our culture, we are divorcing at the highest rate and we are
Yeah.
remarrying at the lowest rate.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And it's because we're not doing this conversation. Like we're
Mhm.
not we're not focusing on building the foundation. We're just ready to have fun.
Yeah. You're poking something that I have to share because I just gotta always bring God into every experience because
Absolutely, as you
I
should.
just
That is
think that
how we keep him out.
he he just brings everything to its proper understanding of what we
Yes.
experience. Romans 8, and you hear me quote it a lot because I really feel like people don't really understand what's being shared.
Mhm.
And I love the title of it. It's just called like this last part of Romans 8 that where everyone's familiar with that I want to read.
Mhm.
It's God's everlasting love.
Mm.
I want to say this before I read it. When you recognize and you sit in reception, full receivership, God, I don't need to return anything to you.
Yeah.
I don't need to give anything back to you. I don't have an offering because God, you gave an offering, so no offering would ever be needed. To know that you don't need anything. If we believed and came into the persuasion that God's everlasting love means that anything that is unloving cannot outlast the love of God towards us. Anything that is unloving that has happened to us cannot outlast God's everlasting love towards us. And so when I read this and you have that understanding, now you understand why this is revealed to Paul at this time. And it says, "What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us?
Yeah.
He who did not spare his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things?" So
Mhm.
that in which we need from everybody else, this comes to an end. Because
Yeah.
if we know that God offered up himself, which is everything he has,
Yeah.
and says that this is proof, this is my action of love to you. If
Mm-hmm.
I gave myself up as a ransom, will I not give you everything that I have?
Yeah.
So how could we dare come into any relationship with the trigger of who's not meeting a need when God's the only one who literally says, I'm the only person who can give you all of me. And
Yeah.
all of me doesn't run out. And when you get all of me, all I have is all of me to give so that you need nothing.
Yeah.
Okay? No, God has everlasting love. Stay with me.
I'm with you.
Who shall bring a charge against God's elect? Isn't it God who justifies?
Mm-hmm.
Who is he who condemns? It is Christ who died, and furthermore is also risen, who is even at the right hand of God, who also makes intercession for us. Who
Mm.
shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall
Mm.
tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword? As it is written, for your sake we are killed all day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter.
Mm.
Yet in all these things,
Yeah.
you know what the Greek word for all is? All. You know what all means? Everything that you can imagine or narrate in your mind that could possibly happen to you that
Yes.
brings forth pain and fear and lack and abandonment and hurt and rejection and unworthiness and losing everything you have and loss and death and everything. Everything is encompassed into this word called all. And he says this, yet in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us.
Mm-hmm.
For I am persuaded that neither death nor life,
All right.
nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in, not your obedience,
Come on.
not your fasting, not your praying, not in you being good to God, not in your godly character, not in your fruit, not in your faith. It says, for which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. So if you can't persuade God to remove his love from you,
Mm-hmm.
then the love that produces all of these things that you need so that no trigger could cause you to think that you don't have what you need or someone can take it away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know the person who sustains you in that love. God is the one who sustains it because it's
Yeah.
in him that it's kept. It's in him that the separation cannot be in, that can never be separated. It's in him that it cannot be, that it is impenetrable. It's by his love that we are more than conquerors. It's not by your love to love him. He
Mm-mm.
said, but by my love towards you produces
Yeah.
an endurance that causes you to be more than the thing that you think is conquering you.
Correct.
Lauren, what would happen if we went through human life believing that anything that tries to conquer me cannot compare to God's love in me that conquers it? What would our triggers look like?
Yeah. Mm. Nothing. That's what they look like. Nothing. That's beautiful.
Everything we're longing for, everything we're looking for.
Yeah.
If you want your triggers to stop ruining your relationships, then I suggest that you start getting with God and start asking Him, why come what I do to you don't ruin our relationship?
No, my God.
And when you start discovering and
Yeah.
start hearing from Him why nothing you do that could cause a trigger doesn't cause Him to remove Himself from the oneness that He has with you. And when you
Mm.
start hearing what keeps Him persuaded to stay, it will start persuading you to also want to stay when you walk with people.
Yeah.
It will start persuading you to see people as God sees you when He knows that you want to bring a trigger into the relationship. It
Mm-hmm.
triggers God when you have unbelief in your heart. It
Yeah.
triggers God that He knows that you're using Him for all of the wrong reasons. It triggers God to know that you are laboring and that you are literally striving to prove what only He can prove in His own ability. It triggers God to know that you are dying and that you have death in your body and that He never made you to experience death. It triggers God that you are looking out into the world and every achievement and everything that looks like a satisfied earthly life for you to actually feel like you are worthy of having purpose. And there's nothing on earth that can tell you what your purpose is because you weren't made for an earthly experience. You were made to experience God.
Yeah.
And that's why He formed you as human. And that's why He wanted to put His invisibility all
Mm.
into you so you could be the visibility of Him. And there's no deeper intimacy than you can have with a person to take all that I am and put it inside something so it can reflect back to me the goodness that it shows unto myself.
Come on.
That's God's desire for you.
Yeah.
So when we come into this place of that, then we can start moving throughout the earth and we can start operating in this. And then when we see the world in constant offense like we're seeing, we don't have to surrender to the offense, but we have the power that overcomes it, that sees an ice soldier and sees those being harmed and still see human.
Yeah.
And how do we come and be the mediator for both
Mhm.
sides in the world instead of choosing one or the other? Because God chose both sides.
Yeah.
God sees everyone as human. And then come into relationship for the person who hurt you and you be the victim, and God chooses both sides.
Yeah.
Or having the father who abandoned you, or having the mother who worked too much and you felt alone and you had to raise all your siblings by yourself, and God sees both sides.
Yes. Yeah.
When we can learn to operate in that, Lauren, our trigger will always be to bring everybody in to reconciliation. And we no longer have to defend ourselves or take up arms whenever a trigger comes, because I realize that which came to trigger me, I'm already more than the conqueror of it anyways, because of He who
Yeah.
loves me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done preaching.
Well, I'm gonna say this before we forget, because I should have said at the beginning. Tonight is our Bible study night.
Yes, 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 yes,
If
yes,
you
yes,
invite people to
yes.
our Bible study.
Yeah, please come out to the Bible study. This is always awkward for me, but we're reading my first book that I wrote and published called Home. The first week was it was surreal to invite everyone into this intimate experience with God that I wrote in 2016. It's 10 years.
Oh my
And to like,
God.
I
Not
know, right?
10 years. Come on.
Crazy. And now
Oh,
10 years later, to have a group of people sitting in a revelation that I sat in 10 years ago, and we're walking through that together. I love to share that with you. If you'd like a free copy of the book, because I'm not trying to sell anything. I just want people to read it because I think it has really beautiful things in it. I'd love for you to join us. I'd love to send it to you.
They're
And I'd love for
registered
you
and
to join
already
us.
get a copy.
Yeah, Lauren will post. Lauren and myself will post a video with the link for you to join us, and we'd love to have you at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Now, those
And
of us in Central, that's 7 p.m.
yeah, 7 p.m.
Okay, those
Yeah,
of us in Eastern, that's 8
yeah.
p.m.
And it's only going to be an hour. We went like over 2 hours because we just have a really fun
We
group of
didn't go over
people.
2,
It
did
was
we?
like over. It was like over. It's past
Let's get the
7.
people
It's
away.
past 7. If you want to stay longer and connect, no one is ever rushing it out because it's a very family space.
It is.
But I'm going to be there for the first hour so we can read and go through and navigate and connect and enjoy that space together. So would love to have you guys. Hope to see y'all
So
there.
I'll make sure I drop the link in
Yeah.
this video. You'll see it posted today as well. All you have to do is sign up on the link, and all the things will be sent to you, including Jared's book.
That's
So
exciting.
so yes, you'll be able to have it with us tonight. So we love you guys. Thank y'all for rocking with the kids. Thank y'all for following. Thank y'all for subscribing. Thank y'all for leaving comments on the podcast. And baby, that next episode,
Yo, y'all ain't ready. Hey, should we give them should we give them a teaser? All I gotta say is let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things
and the bad thing.
Let's talk about
sex.
we better get into it. And I'm telling y'all, if y'all think the revelational triggers was heavy,
yeah, I clutched my pearls and said 3 prayers or something. So
I'm excited.
Yeah, next week I can't wait for y'all to hear the episode is dropping. So we'll see y'all there.
Love y'all.
And we